right. So, okay, it's time to get serious, chat. It is. So, as you guys may or may not know, Hasan visited Canada recently. Hasan visited Canada to talk at the University of British Columbia. And someone tagged me on Twitter with the full speech that he made at the University of British Columbia. Okay? So we're going to take a look at it. I want to see what Hasan is trying to spew out to Canadians. All right? So let's take a look and see what he said at the University of British Columbia.
We got like 5 minutes remaining. They're going to do an introductory speech, or not an introductory speech. They're going to intro me. They're going to intro the moderator. The moderator's going to intro me. I'm going to go out there. We're going to flip it over. We're going to flip it over to the regular live stream. You'll see us on the regular live stream. And then after that, we'll say our goodbyes and we'll peace out. And then we'll do the CBC interview and Q&A with the student fans. So excited for all of that. There will be a Q&A portion. Most of it is going to be Q&A. There's like a small, brief introductory speech where I'll come in, and
I may or may not look for his interview on CBC after this. I'm debating it.
And paraphrase a bunch of quotes from much more intelligent people than myself, and
That's
butcher
like a
them
20-minute
and
long
slaughter
video.
them. And then
Wait, what did he say?
more intelligent people than myself, and butcher them and slaughter them.
Hold up. Wait a minute.
And paraphrase a bunch of quotes from much more intelligent people than myself, and butcher them and slaughter them. And then talk about how
he's trying to sound
American
humble.
dominance is not necessarily great for Canada, nor is it great for even the American working class. And that as the world...
Are you seeing his chat? Are you seeing his chat?
Canada,
Hang
nor
on.
is it great for even the American...
Bring normies to socialism. Let's go. You got okay. Hang on. If his chat's gonna be on screen, I've got to move you guys. Look at that. His chat is saying right here from L Pipe Twitch. Bring normies to socialism. Let's go. Oh fucking hell.
Class, and that as the world struggles to find an alternative, I think there are some countries that have focused on their own personal development. Countries, of course, I'm referencing to, such as China. And I'll talk about how...
Look at that! He's literally got fucking Winnie the Pooh. And I don't know if this is an emote that he put out. What he literally has Winnie the Pooh, because I'm not going to say his real name, he's Winnie the fucking Pooh, as an emote in his chat. And of course he shouts out China, because of course he shouts out China. And okay, there's Canada is not a socialist country. Let me put that out right fucking now. Canada is not a socialist country. It has social programs very much like the US has social programs. It's just Canada has social programs that the US does not. I.e., Canada has universal health care for everybody. The US does not. But Canada is not a socialist country, at least not yet. Now, things keep going the way it's going. God help us. But Canada is, by definition, not a socialist country. I don't even know if it'd be called democratic socialist, realistically. A lot of the stuff, like a vast majority of the stuff in Canada is the same as the US, at least as far as like governmental programs that are available to people. A lot of it is similar to the US. Now, have we been seeing a change in Canada that we don't like? Yes. And does Canada's healthcare have problems? Certainly. Never said done. Never said done. But by and large, Canada is not a socialist country by definition yet. It's that, yeah, there's still a majority free enterprise. Canada is still very much a capitalism based country. So, well, yes, the tax rate is higher in Canada. We get used to it, but we've got used to that. But you know what? A lot of people in Canada, and yes, you hear the horror stories about the healthcare in Canada, but by and large, a lot of people are okay with a little bit of a higher tax rate in Canada to be able to literally walk into any hospital, any doctor's office, and now any dentist's office in the country and avail and get care at no cost or at a significantly diminished cost. As far as the wait times go, it depends on the individual medical facility or doctor. My doctor, when like there were times with the few times that I might have had to go to the hospital back when I was in Newfoundland, sometimes I was in and out in an hour. Sometimes I was waiting several hours. It depended on how many people were needing care at the time. For my personal doctor, for my private doctor, I could get in, like, I could call and say, hey, I need to get in to see the doctor. Like, almost every time I ever needed to see my private doctor, I would get in next day. The next day, I could get in to see my doctor. So I never had any issue getting in to see my doctor, ever. So it depends upon the individual physician. It depends upon the individual facility. Depends upon how busy that facility is. So, are there problems? Yeah. Yeah, there are problems. Absolutely. I'll never say there are problems. Is it as bad as a lot of people like to think? I would say maybe not quite as bad as everybody likes to think. At least in my personal experience. Anyway, continuing on.
I think middle powers, as Mark Carney referenced Canada and many others, have a unique opportunity to go against American hegemony in this moment, not as simply an act of defiance against anti-imperialism, but an act of sovereignty.
It's not, oh my God. Number one, you dumb fuck, Canada is sovereign. Canada is a sovereign nation. And it's not in defiance of imperialism. For fuck's sake, Canada is not doing what it's doing because it's striking back against quote-unquote imperialism. Like, yeah, the people of Canada already have a very serious fucking problem with everything that Carney's done, especially cozying up to China. Everybody in Canada is like, what the fuck are you doing? His disapproval rating is through the fucking floor. People hate Carney. People want Carney out. They want Peter Poilievre in Carney's place because Peter Poilievre will actually stand up to people and will actually start doing things for Canada instead of trying to sell out Canada. Oh, I haven't looked at any numbers. If I was to guess, his latest shit with the CCP probably tanked Carney. Although, realistically, it's two sides of the same shitcoin. Trudeau and Carney are two sides of the same shitcoin because Carney was Trudeau's replacement. When Trudeau stepped down, Carney was his replacement. That's who his party chose to replace in the prime minister slot. And then fucking idiots in Canada, probably because a lot of people didn't get out to vote, kept him in there. Trudeau was only worse because Trudeau had more time in power. Carney has had maybe, 2 years, I think? Trudeau had multiple years to fuck Canada over. Carney's only had a year or two to really fuck Canada over. Yeah, he's been in for 1 year, not 2 years. So it's a matter of time. And people hate Carney. I don't think that when election time comes, I don't think Carney is going to be the prime minister. I don't know about if it's like the US where they can only serve 2 terms and that's it. I have no idea. I have no idea if that's a limitation or not, but I do think, like, number one, people want him gone. There has been movements there's been movements to try and get him out. I don't know if they're going to be able to do it. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I just know that a lot of people really hate Cardi. There's movements within Parliament. I don't know if it's going to be successful or not. That maybe they try it. Maybe they're trying to, pull enough people to do a vote of confidence. Whether or not that'll pass, I don't know. But yeah, generally speaking, the people of Canada hate Carney. They absolutely fucking hate him right now.
In order to maintain national sovereignty, in order to maintain their cultures, in order to make sure that their citizens don't get the worst end of the bargain, as they have been consistently with American international trade engineering. There are numerous initiatives that are at play right now, whether it be the BRICS nations, but the EU could be a very strong contender as a powerful bloc on its own against the American hegemony. And
yeah, Canada could stand up. Canada could stand up maybe and work with the US more efficiently and more homogeneously if we had someone in power that would actually stand up to Trump and say, all right, enough of the bully tactics bullshit. Let's actually sit down and do shit. The thing is Carney will fucking cave in a heartbeat to Trump. Instead of actually blowing him up, say, you know what, you want to act like a Billy Badass, stop fucking around, and let's actually have a conversation. Like the feud right now, yeah, the feud right now between Canada and the U.S. is fucking stupid. I will say that flat out. Do things need to change in terms of the trade relationships with Canada and the U.S.? Sure. There's always room to change and adjust trade relations as time progresses. Absolutely. Should there be a discussion about maybe changing up trade relations to be mutually beneficial? And yes, certainly. But the problem is right now, Trump is basically doing his bully tactics against Canada, and Carney is like folding like a cheap suit every fucking time. And instead of actually like growing a pair of fucking balls and actually saying, let's sit down and fucking talk and actually have a serious conversation, he's running to fucking China. And it's doing no good for Canada. And that's why people want Carney fucking out.
I think now is the time for self-preservation for these middle powers.
Why are you spoiling those things?
I'm just literally freestyling right now, so I'm trying to figure out where I will go from here. Hopefully I'll be able to remember all that, or just say all of that.
Just pull up the VOD if that happens.
Yeah, I'll just play the VOD. I'll be like, here, this is what I did say. Hopefully I don't just like brick when I see this crowd. People are coming up to me like, are you nervous? People have been saying you're nervous. I'm like, maybe. We're gonna freestyle it.
This is your first time in Canada, right?
First time in Canada, first time in Vancouver, first time wearing a suit, really. I don't really do any of this stuff. So
Why do you have to come here?
that's what I'm gonna open it.
My name's Alison McFarlane. I'm the director of the School of Public Policy and Global Affairs here at the University of British Columbia. And it's really a wonderful pleasure to welcome you all to this evening's event. Before we begin, I want to acknowledge that we're gathered on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded land of the Musqueam.
God, of course she did. Oh, shit. I jumped it. My mistake. Sorry, I jumped it. Of course she did. Okay, chat, I'm going to let this play through and then talk.
I'm the director of the School of Public Policy and Global Affairs here at the University of British Columbia. And it's really a wonderful pleasure to welcome you all to this evening's event. Before we begin, I want to acknowledge that we're gathered on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded land of the Musqueam people. This land has long been a place of learning, exchange, and dialogue, and we're really grateful for the opportunity to gather here tonight.
Okay, that wasn't, she did the unceded thing. And I am so fucking sick of this SJR apologist bullshit. This has become so fucking prevalent. This has become so fucking prevalent. every kind of, no matter the size, every like public speaking thing, they always have to start with, we have to do a land acknowledgement. We always have to do those miles. We are on the land of the insert tribe here, her. It's on unceded land. But like, shut up. Okay? This has been how many decades or how many centuries? Get over it. It's done. Shut the fuck up about it. This is the same bullshit as the reparations nonsense in the US, where they're not like, where they're saying, we acknowledge that's, constantly saying we acknowledge that slavery happened and we're oh so sorry and reparations. It's the same fucking thing. They need to fucking stop with this bullshit. Okay? It was, the acknowledgement was made God knows how many years ago. It's over and done with. Unless you're planning on giving the land fucking back, shut the fuck up. Society's taking over other people's land for their own has been done since the beginning of the existence of humanity. Stop living in the goddamn past. All right? Climb down off the cross, take the wood, build a bridge, and get the fuck over it. Enough with the bullshit land acknowledgement, because when you do that, I don't want to hear a fucking thing that you have to say. I went to a meeting. I think I told you guys about this. I went to like a meeting for the Autism Society once. And they were the purpose of it was basically to just talk about what the Autism Society can do for those with autism and the families of those that have autism. And of course, they started off with this fucking land acknowledgement of, we acknowledge that we are on the land of so-and-so. It's like, shut the fuck up. Because when you say that, I don't want to hear anything else you have to say. Because by you saying that, it means that you're an SJR, and everything you're going to say following that is SJR influenced, which basically has tanked everything that you want to say because you've already folded and you're already cucked by the SJRs reading and screaming about, oh, my diversity, oh, stolen land, and which means nothing you say is going to have, I cannot count on your facts and logic to come through in anything that you're going to say moving forward. So people need to start shutting the fuck up about this. If you want to do the land acknowledgement, then either give the land back to the native peoples, to the indigenous peoples, either give it back or shut the fuck up. It's literally as simple as that. Pick one. Give it back or shut the fuck up and move on. Because until you shut the fuck up and move on, nothing is going to get accomplished.
I also want to begin by thanking the Lind family, whose generosity sustains the Lind Initiative and makes these public conversations possible. We're sincerely grateful for their continued support.
Okay, I have no idea who Lind is. By the way, notice how he's trying to twist, they're trying to twist the Trump words of America First, and they're trying to twist it.
So, for those of you who've joined us before, welcome back. For those of you who are here for the first time, welcome.
Well, it's not just the people with the most land that call it stolen. No, it's basically the white knights that basically hate their own. Essentially, it's white people hating their own race and basically living off of like they're they cannot get beyond some kind of martyrdom. And they basically have to say, we are horrible people. They're white saviors that hate themselves, essentially. White saviors, white guilt, and they're doing it for attention. Make no mistake, the people, these white saviors, these white guiltists, these apologists, are doing it for attention. Because it is the thing to do. Okay? It's literally simple as that. They want a virtue signal because they want the attention. They want to do that so they can get other people to go, excuse me. Oh, look how virtuous you are. Oh, look at how wonderfully you are by showcasing your white guilt. Oh, we love you so much for your white guilt. We appreciate, and it's attention. They're doing it for attention. They are attention whores. That is literally it. It has nothing to do with actually feeling any sense of guilt. It has nothing to do with feeling bad for the indigenous people. They literally want to do it for social brownie points and to get attention for said brownie points. That's it. That's it.
The LIND initiative brings together diverse public thinkers to engage with the most pressing political and social questions of our time. One of the defining features of the initiative is its role as a public forum for serious, open inquiry. It's a space where complex ideas can be explored and debated in public, a space where perspectives are tested, challenged, and interrogated thoughtfully.
So what are the odds that they actually had a counterpoint to all of this, like to everything basically on Hasan's side? What are the chances that they'll actually give the opposing viewpoint of basically people like Hasan a fair shake at talking? Because we all know that colleges now, especially liberal colleges, don't allow that. They do not allow anyone to speak on the side of wrongthink, and I have no reason to think that BC is going to do the same thing.
The purpose of this series is not to deliver settled conclusions, but to create a space for careful
Why? Listen to what she just said again.
to deliver and interrogated thoughtfully. The purpose of this series is not to deliver settled conclusions.
Why? Why can you not debate settled conclusions? See, here's the thing about science and logical thinking. If you have new evidence that discounts what has been a quote settled conclusion, it opens back up for debate. So there is no such thing as a settled conclusion that you cannot talk about if new evidence has come to light that directly affects that quote unquote settled conclusion. So by saying we're not here to talk about settled conclusions, you're immediately cutting off at a route of dialogue that can be taken in regards to these settled conclusions if new evidence has come to light in respect to them. So you're not actually looking for open dialogue here. You're looking to say, oh, that's settled, so boom. We're not going to talk about it because we don't want you to engage in wrongthink.
But to create a space for careful, critical examination. Against the backdrop of our current political climate, marked by polarization and increasingly siloed forms of public discourse, this mission feels more important than ever. It's important to be clear about the role of this initiative. We're not here to endorse any speaker's views. We're here to convene conversations with the voices who are shaping public debate.
Bullshit.
And in that spirit, I hope over this evening and this series, more broadly, you hear something you disagree with. Not because disagreement is an end in itself, but because grappling seriously with competing arguments is central for democratic life. And we are at a university, after all.
Are you going to actually listen to both sides?
We ask everyone here tonight to help us model that kind of engagement. Listen carefully, challenge ideas with substance, and treat one another and our speakers with respect. Finally, a few logistical notes. We'll be taking questions later in the event using Slido.
Wait, what did that person say? Hang on.
Notes. We'll be taking questions later.
Okay, someone said we are Charlie Kirk. Someone in Hasan's chat said we are Charlie Kirk. And then someone left this grifter. Are they going to ask the speakers to each condemn Hamas? Oh, fucking base right there. Oh, fucking base. Are they going to ask the speakers, i.e. Hasan, to condemn Hamas? The answer to that is no.
Later in the event using Slido. You can submit questions and upvote questions by visiting slido.com and entering the code that is displayed up there on the screen. And as always, a reminder to silence your cell phones. It's now my pleasure to introduce our moderator for this evening, Dr. Nojang Khatami. Nojang is an assistant professor of political science at Fordham University in New York, and we're especially
Jay, what the holy fuck are we doing here? So you're gonna get a moderator for a debate of some guy that's an assistant professor of political science from New York. You're gonna get a socialist from New York, a quote unquote socialist Democrat from New York, because I guarantee you he fucking is, to moderate this, and you don't think he's gonna fucking spew it towards people like Hasan? Oh yeah, they're pulling in all the SJRs on this one. Oh yeah, this is gonna be a socialist retard extravaganza, all right. They're gonna cut off anybody that tries to basically that anybody that dumpsters on people like Hasan, they're gonna cut him off. Yes, an apolitical person would 100% be a better moderator, but they're not gonna do that because they don't want an apolitical moderator. They want a moderator that's on their side. That's what they want. They want a moderator that's on their side, so they're going to skew it to make sure that someone on their side is the one in charge of letting people talk and cutting them off.
Proud to note that he's an alumnus of UBC's PhD program in political science. Yes.
Oh, this gets better and better.
And he's happy to be back.
Oh, this just gets better and better.
His research focuses on democratic theory, resistance, literature, and revolution, and his forthcoming book project examines dissent against oppressive political structures from Iran to North America. His public scholarship has appeared in The Progressive and the Boston Review, and he's a co-host.
Wait, the moderator is comparing oppressive political regimes of Iran to the U.S. Their moderator is literally saying that the oppressive regime of Iran is the same as the current presidency of the U.S. And this is who your moderator is going to be. Go fuck yourself on this bullshit. The game is rigged from the fucking start on this one.
Of the podcast Politics and the Exilic City. We're delighted to have him back to campus to guide tonight's conversation. And finally, our featured guest speaker this evening, Hasan Piker. Hasan Piker is one of the most prominent political commentators of the digital age.
Surpassed only by Asmongold, extensively. Yeah, Hasan is. I don't discount the fact that Hasan is a one of the biggest quote unquote political commentators. Granted, he spends most of his time crashing out and talking about Asmongold. Asmongold is a bigger political commentator than Hasan is by a significant margin. So they had to get the B squad because
a widely followed creator on Twitch. He reaches tens of thousands of viewers daily, engaging a large and politically active online community in real-time discussions of news, policy, and global events.
And terrorist glazing and sympathizing, platforming terrorists, calling for the death of capitalists, speaking in gross detail about what he thinks should be done to people who are capitalists, has Asmongold currently living rent-free in his head, along with more Pegasus living rent-free in his head, constantly breaking TOS by making threats of violence or advocating for violence, doxing chatters because they say something he doesn't like, making bullshit threats with pretending that an airsoft gun is a firearm. Am I forgetting anything, chat, about the things that Hasan has done that this woman is not bringing up? The key thing of that is I'm sorry, I forgot. He also loves communism and would actually prefer to live in China versus the United States. So he is a communist sympathizer and a communist glazer. I almost forgot the bat. And of course we have, how could I be remiss? Animal abuser. He is also a twice that we know of animal abuser. Yeah, well, that's where I said he has indeed called for the genocide of the entirety of the Jewish people as well. So he is a genocide promoter of the Jewish people. Am I forgetting something else that this bitch is deciding not to actually talk about? Yes, I did mention the doxing of Randa person. Yes, I did. Not 1911 apologist, but he said that America deserved 9/11. He did say that America deserved 9/11. He has called for violence against current political. He has called for violence against politicians. He said that he has actually specifically labeled politicians that should be killed. He's actually by name called up people to be killed. Um, just so much like there is more. There are more things that you could say about Hasan that are disgusting than there are that could be considered charitably nice. That should tell you something.
His perspective has been shaped by firsthand experience with
someone
democratic
said Hasan
backsliding and
Ecker.
authoritarian politics in both Turkey and the United States. His work represents a new form of participatory political media, blending commentary, activism, and community building in ways that are reshaping how younger generations
activism.
engage with politics. So please join me in welcoming Hasan Piker.
Okay, so we're gonna get like a speech from him. Bear in mind, we're not gonna be getting the debate. We're gonna be getting just his speech. That's all that's in this. Oh, and by the way, I want to point out something. Notice how many empty seats there are. You notice there's more than a few empty seats in this auditorium. Like there's a whole section here that is empty. So yeah, he's got like, probably I'd say a quarter of the seats are empty.
I bet Thomas Friedman didn't get that kind of reception. Anyway, no disrespect to all the previous guests. I'm actually probably going to deliver a much worse speech than everyone that came before me and then everyone that will come after me, including but not limited to Rachel Maddow. Especially considering that I just found out that I'm sharing a stage in a program with Thomas Friedman and Rachel Maddow.
Hasan, you can stop trying to glaze Rachel Maddow. She's gay. She's not going to fuck you. And yeah, I'm just a poor, humble street. Yeah, he's trying to do that. I'm a poor, humble streamer. When we've seen how much he blows up his own ego. This is all performative. What he's saying right here is 100% performative. We've seen how big his ego is. Kind of like when he went to the Mondami party and they said, you're not on the list, and was all butthurt about the fact that he couldn't go to the Mondami victory party because he's not on the list. How he's gone to other political events and has been told, yeah, dude, you're not on the list. Yeah. This is all like, oh, I'm just a humble little streamer. I'm so humble. Don't you think I'm so humble? Aren't I so great? Aren't I so humble?
Approximately 10 minutes before I got out of the car and I walked in and they told me, oh, you have a speech. And I was like, oh yeah, like a 2-minute speech, something like that. And they were like, you signed on for 15 minutes. And I thought to myself, well, I done did it again. This is probably like the 20th time that I've done one of these sorts of, college speeches where I just come out on stage and start blurting it out. And I have no understanding of what the event is, but I'm gonna try to do my very best. Especially considering that I speak for 8 hours uninterrupted, or usually interrupted with chat. It's not gonna be too difficult, I hope.
Yes, it's his attempt at humor.
But today, obviously, we're gonna be talking about one of my favorite subjects to discuss. According to all my naysayers,
terrorism,
including the CIJA, I believe. I don't know if they're in the room right now. Sorry,
CIJA? I'm blanking on what that acronym is for. I don't know. I have no idea.
You know, I'm sorry that you guys couldn't stop me from coming to Vancouver.
Wait. Center of Israel and Jewish affairs. So he's in his fucking speech. He's already taking shots at Israel. In the first minute of his speech, he's already taken shots at Israel. Being like off the jump, basically doing that. Of course, would we expect anything less from this fucktard? No, of course not. This is his playbook. How much is he going to shit on Israel during this 15-minute speech? And listen to the cheers.
But I'm gonna be talking about one of.
You heard all the cheers. Don't forget, we've had just as much of the pro-Palestinian protests in Canada as the U.S. has had. We also have the pro-Palestinian fucktards marching the streets in Canada, just like in the U.S. So, yeah, how many of the people in this audience are fake pro-Palestinians? Because I'm guessing it's a lot of white people in this audience who are going, yeah, free Palestine, when they don't actually know what the fuck is going on in Palestine. They don't give a fuck about Palestine. They're jumping on a bandwagon to get clicks and get likes and get attention. Garrett fucking Teed, no one in this fucking audience gives a flying fuck about Palestine. No one in this audience gives a flying fuck about Israel. They only have opinion because opinion is current topical thing. I want to feel special, so I'm going to have current popular thing that will get me more likes and clicks on social media. That's it.
My favorite subjects, according to my haters, which is America bad. I think a lot of Canadians have learned that lesson if they weren't aware of this concept, except for the Albertans, that America is, as a matter of fact, somewhat of a parasitic force in the global New World Order.
Right off the bat, shitting on the very country that has made it possible for him to be as successful as he is. This is the retardation of Hasan Piker. America is what made it possible for him to become so rich and so popular. And he refuses to acknowledge this. He will shit on America all day long. If he was not in America, he would not be able to say the things that he said. He would not. Yeah, and if he hates America so much, why is he still there? Go to fucking China. Go to Palestine. You love Palestine so much, move to fucking Palestine. You can stream out of a mud hut. Go to fucking China. You can stream with the CCP monitoring everything you do, constantly sending in people to check your room, wire you up your fucking room and monitor everything you say. And if you say anything that's against wrongthink, you'll be sent to a re-education camp. Unlike America that actually has freedom of speech. But he very conveniently always forgets about that part. He very conveniently forgets that America's freedoms and liberties is what allows him to do what he does and say what he says. All the time. Him and everyone in his orbit always very conveniently forgets about the fact that it's because of America that he's actually able to say what he says. What, fuck America, right?
And it was actually one of my only failed predictions of 2025 when I thought that Pierre Poilievre, am I saying that right? Poilievre? Doesn't matter. This college campus is so woke, you don't even...
He's shouting out Pierre Poilievre. They're trying to correct him on the name of one of their party leaders. And he's like, it doesn't matter. So that's the respect that Hasan is offering to Canada. Again, listen again. They try to correct him on the pronunciation.
Thought that Pierre Poilievre, am I saying that right? Poilievre? Doesn't matter. This college...
They're trying to tell him it's pronounced Peter Poilievre. And he's like, whatever, doesn't matter. He literally just shit on on a Canadian, on the leader of a Canadian political party. Literally just shit on it. In Canada. Like, this is the respect that he's bringing to Canada? I don't fucking think so. Polyev. I admit it, my pronunciation may be sounding fucked up because of the VC, but it's Polyev. Peter Polyev. And he is basically the guy, he is basically the people that they want to take over from Carney. Because he'll actually, like, do something for Canadians.
College campus is so woke, you don't even... Anyway, one of those guys that's usually very, well, I guess he wasn't really, but usually the Conservative Party from where we're standing in America always tries to be American for some weird reason. And I guess because of Donald Trump, that really backfired spectacularly last election cycle for you guys. And I thought he had a shot, a real shot.
Not really.
Until...
It didn't backfire. To my recollection, Peter Polyev did not lose by a very wide margin. It was a reasonably tight race. Because also, one thing this dumbass is forgetting is the elections in Canada don't work the same as the elections in America. People are not voting for the prime minister. The prime minister by himself does not get voted in. What happens is Canadians vote for their representatives in Parliament. And the majority party in Parliament is who chooses the prime minister. That's how it works, which is admittedly a fucked up way of choosing a prime minister. That the people don't actually get to vote for the prime minister. That is a fucked up way of doing it. I fully admit that. But it's not the same. It's not like people voted for Peter Polyev to be prime minister. They voted for their representatives. The majority party is the one who gets to choose the prime minister. So he's conflating and trying to compare America elections to Canadian elections, and it don't fucking work, dumbass.
I found out that Canadians do value dignity and sovereignty and don't want to be annexed by the United States of America.
The seals clapped.
Which is a very healthy attitude to have, especially considering that I think with this last iteration of our beautiful President Donald Trump's attempts at forcibly annexing Greenland, which is a part of our NATO security cooperation. Someone should...
NATO has been useless for years. NATO and the UN has been useless for years. My guess that is why Trump was trying to get Greenland, because it could secure the Golden Dome. NATO, it waffles. They don't do a fucking thing. The UN is currently being run by someone who literally is partaking in the massive levels of fraud that is happening in the US. Why would America give the fuck about the UN and NATO? Like, America literally is NATO right now. America is the UN. They serve no purpose otherwise. They are effectively useless. And right now, the security head of NATO is directly involved with the fraud taking place in Minnesota. So why the fuck should America give a damn about the UN or NATO when the head of the UN Security Council is fucking over America? Pretty simple fucking logic, in my opinion.
Tell Donald Trump that. Especially after that, we saw many European leaders openly take to the stage at Davos and say, we'd rather be happy vassals than angry slaves. And I thought about that quite a bit. And I thought about Mark Carney's speech quite a bit. And I think that there is a failure of the previous liberal international order and consensus. And I don't think it's necessarily just Donald Trump, even though we like to talk about him as the harbinger of doom. The reality of the matter is these systems have been collapsing for quite a while. If you're in the third world, if you're in a developing nation, you already know exactly what it's like to be on the receiving end of endless amounts of bloodshed and domination. Now, of course, people...
Okay, so he's going to very conveniently gloss over the fact that developed nations are failing because of the current political ideologies of those in power. All of these EU nations that are collapsing under the weight of massive migration, legal and illegal, and allowing the migrants to take over their countries with their ideologies, with basically their barbaric practices that they have brought over from their native lands, is directly responsible for the collapse, the collapsing of these nations. This is why you are seeing the Restore Britain party that we just heard about recently. But he won't acknowledge that. He won't acknowledge that. To him, this is all wonderful. It's great. He wants basically the third world to take over the Western world and turn the Western world into the third world. That's what he wants, in addition to communism. See, he wants the third world to take over so communism can ride in on a horse of shit and say, we can fix everything for you. You just need to come to communism, and communism is like the only option because these countries have been destroyed so much by importing and becoming a third world, they will have no choice but to accept communism or basically be destroyed within. That's what he wants. Without question, that's what he wants.
Of my political background have been talking about this for years. Lenin was one of those people that talked about it quite a bit. Imperialism being an absolute necessity as a global capitalist order, as profit rates have a tendency to decline. And we've seen this endless militarism and endless domination in the global...
He just glazed Lenin, didn't he? I was only half paying attention to that. I want to hear that again. I'm pretty sure he just glazed Lenin.
The reality of the matter is these systems have been collapsing for quite a while. If you're in the third world, if you're in a developing nation, you already know exactly what it's like to be on the receiving end of endless amounts of bloodshed and domination. Now, of course, people of my political background have been talking about this for years. Lenin was one of those people that talked about it quite a bit.
He's fucking glazing a mass murderer. This is what this person is bringing to Canada. Glazing a mass murderer. Wait, this is sick. This is, and he's getting the seal clap cheers for it too. He's getting a seal clap from the brainwashed morons in the audience. That Lenin was such a great thing. You know, the mass murderer who killed tens of millions of people. Like, this man is literally promoting murder and terrorism. And God help me, British Columbia invited him to speak. This is why British Columbia is looked at as a joke in Canada. British Columbia is not looked at favorably in Canada. British Columbia is probably, essentially speaking, the California of Canada. When it comes to, you know, how they run the province, all the problems that they have with homelessness, with drug use, it's like, it is basically the California of Canada in that respect. It's insane. So of course, that's why he's speaking in British Columbia. Quebec is a whole different story. Quebec is very much, they don't like being a part of Canada because they're all about France. So Quebec is not, you know, great in that respect, but it's not in the same vein. Quebec actually, to their credit, Quebec has actually said, fuck Canada, we're doing things our way, which is why they made French the predominant language, which is why they use the notwithstanding clause to basically say all government services will be in French
Hasan
in
glazes
Quebec.
up a mass murderer. In other news, water is wet.
Quebec has basically sort of become, to a small degree, isolationist in how they said, like, everything governmental is in French. If you don't know French, it sucks to be you. We're not translating it to English. If you are going to be a resident of Quebec, you have to be a primary French speaker. You have, like, if you're an immigrant to Quebec, you have 6 months to learn French, and if you can't learn it, fuck off. So, to a degree, they are kind of isolationist. And yeah, Alberta is sort of keying off of kind of what Quebec has done by saying, basically the Canadian government is kind of fucking us over, and so they're also turning inward in the same respect. BC is, again, it's extremely liberal. They're all about bringing in outsiders. They're all about, bullshit social programs. They're all about having a fuck ton of homeless. They're all about having a fuck ton of drug use. I didn't say Central. Did I say Central? If I said Central, I didn't mean to. But yeah, it honestly makes perfect sense why he would talk in BC.
Imperialism being an absolute necessity as a global capitalist order, as profit rates have a tendency to decline. And we've seen...
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. A global capitalist society, profits actually go up. The problem is when you have these countries that are capitalist and they start and they basically see a political dynamic shift where they start importing the third world and start going whole hog into communism, or where they start going whole hog into socialism and start giving these migrants from the third world country all the money and all the property they ever want, and they're not giving their own people anything, you're going to see profitability drop precipitously. Because you're bringing in a bunch of freeloaders you're in mass importing freeloaders into your country, so your entire GDP is going to take care of the freeloaders who will not work because they know they can take advantage of the government. So they're just going to say, fuck it, I'm just going to take advantage of the government. I'm never going to work, and therefore you're not going to see profits because businesses are going to stagnate or collapse because you don't have enough people to work, or you don't have enough people that you can sell things to because the government's giving it to people all for free, and that's why you're going to see an economic downturn across the world with global capitalism. Global capitalism only collapses when you have socialism taking over, and extreme socialism in the case that we've been seeing in places like the EU. That's when global capitalism collapses and doesn't work. But Hasan's not going to talk about that. Hasan's not going to talk about the fact that because the government's giving everything away for free, that capitalism is going down because they're not actually making a profit because they're giving it all fucking away. Proper capitalism actually bolsters an economy and bolsters the people. That's what capitalism does. With capitalism, there's supply, demand, there's money moving in both directions, and people can actually learn a decent living because they're not dependent upon handouts for everything, and all of those handouts are going towards migrants, illegal and legal, to basically support them and not support the people that are living there. And so that's basically what it boils down to. But he's not going to say that because he's a communist.
This endless militarism and endless domination in the global south, in countries that are in the periphery, at the behest of super profits for international capital. But unfortunately now, America's appetite for instability and all of the potential promises of said instability for international capital has put new targets in its crosshairs, as Mark Carney and many others have talked about, middle powers. We're talking about the European Union, Canada, and many other countries that are stuck between what seems like American domination and the global liberal capitalist hegemony, and potentially the rise of regional powers such as Russia that do not shy away from irredentist action and oftentimes violent military conquest, and the behemoth of manufacturing that is China. Now, as you guys already know, BRICS nations have realized that this bar...
Yeah, of course he's going to say, oh, Russia is such an existential threat. Russia can't even take down Ukraine. They have been fighting Ukraine for how many years now and have gotten nowhere. And in fact, may have actually lost ground in some places. Russia's not a threat. China is much more of a threat than Russia is. Russia is fucking Slavic special ed with Buff constantly fucking Russia's mom. They are no threat. Not even slightly, because they can't even take on a small country like Ukraine. If Russia was actually a threat, then they would have been able to steamroll Ukraine a long time ago. But they can't. Because they're not the threat Hasan likes to pretend they are.
Of American domination was not always going to work out well for them, and that's the reason why they have sought out alternatives and tried to create different trade agreements and maybe even currency cooperative agreements with China, specifically to, at times, leverage their relationship that they have with the United States of America. And I've been a longtime advocate in developing European sovereignty and developing sovereignty for countries like Canada. And now, I believe, is the time.
How's that going to happen when these countries are basically importing a third world? How are you what kind of sovereignty are you going to get with these countries if these countries are literally turning into offshoot versions of the Middle East? Yeah. You literally have Middle Eastern migrants coming into Canada, coming into the EU, literally for the purpose of taking it over and making it satellite countries of the Middle Eastern countries that they came from. That's literally their intention. They flat out said so. They have flat out said their purpose is to turn Canada and multiple countries in the EU into Islamic countries, therefore making them offshoots of the Middle East. How is that sovereignty? That's not sovereignty. That's an attempted takeover. But he's going to ignore that because, oh, Hasan loves Islam, doesn't he? He absolutely loves the Muslim countries, so he's all for the Muslim invasion in Western lands, like Canada, like Britain, like France, like Spain. He's all for Muslim invasions. So for him, it's not about sovereignty, it actually is about invasion and domination. 100%. And yeah, in the long run, he's only parroting back what he thinks his audience wants, because in the end, he's a capitalist. Ryan, I don't either. I don't want a Muslim takeover in Canada either. I think Canada needs to take its country back as well. Absolutely. We have had there's been such a heavy influx in Muslim and Indian countries that Canada is becoming unrecognizable. It is. Before I left Newfoundland, in the span of 1 year, I saw a very precipitous change of populace in Newfoundland. From 1 year to the next, I saw a very stark change in the general populace. And that's happening all over the country. And I don't know if he's talked about remigration. I don't, because I actually don't watch politics a lot. Realistically, I don't watch politics a lot, so I have no idea if he's talked about it or not. It would not surprise me if we start hearing some people start talking about it, though.
For these middle powers to be able to develop sovereignty once again. And I fear that if these countries don't do it, specifically Canada, I worry that American domination will at first look like the tariffs negotiations that Donald Trump has seemingly haphazardly thrown around, and then, and in the worst case scenario, complete military annexation. Now that might sound...
Except more and more of the provinces in Canada would not be, be annexed militarily. I have no idea what the status is with Alberta, but more and more provinces, I think, are starting to cotton to the idea of Canada is fucking us over. There's got to be a better way. It's...
sound terrifying to you guys, but we have the most peaceful option ahead of us, at least for the time being. Because this growth that we are seeing this change, this nuclear option of trade, this destruction of international agreements that America was not only the safeguard of, but also the architects of, are coming to a close. What comes next is up to all of us. And by that I mean not just international capital.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we're seeing it now. Socialism is the most unpeaceful thing we have seen. All of the socialism that we've seen in America has been the exact opposite of it. Look what happened in Minnesota. Look what's happening in California. Look what's happening in New York. Look at all of the riots. Look at the basically the Gestapo LARPing that has been happening in Minnesota. That's all socialism. That's all people supporting socialism. The people in Minnesota that are pretending that they want to be the Gestapo and stop and create checkpoints and stop cars to make sure that they're not ICE, those are socialists. Those are people that support socialism. Okay? They are the most unpeaceful people currently. The ones wanting peace are the capitalists. That's the this is it is literally the Uno reverse. The socialists want war, the capitalists want peace. That is indisputable right now. It is indisputable of where each side stands. But he won't admit that because he wants chaos and he wants war. Why? Because chaos and war makes him money. That's why he's not a socialist and he's a capitalist. The socialist being violent, allowing him to talk about it consistently, makes him money. That's you know how war makes people money, how it makes companies money. You know, the war profiteers that make money, that love when a war happens because they get severe. Every time there's a war, a whole bunch of companies suddenly get really fucking rich whenever there's a war because they're making a fuck ton of money off the war. That's what he does. He is a war profiteer. Yeah, he is a die-in-the-wool war profiteer. He loves it when there's massive conflict like this because it gives him content and it makes him money because he can pretend like, oh, I stand with you when he stands for himself. And all he wants is to make money off of the stupid SJRs, the stupid ass retards that actually believe he gives a flying fuck about them. And they throw dollar after dollar at him in a myriad of different ways and make him filthy fucking rich. And the whole time he's counting his money going, what a bunch of dumbasses. They think I actually give a shit about him. That's what he does. That's what he's doing right fucking now.
Capital owners of different sorts, petty bourgeois, small business owners, mom and pop landlords and the like. I'm talking about you, the people, the workers, you who comprise the masses.
Yeah, by the way, the mom and pops that you were talking about, yeah, they're getting put out of business because of socialism. The mom and pop stores that he's talking about just now, yeah, socialism is putting them out of business. He has no idea how many mom and pop shops have had to close because they can't afford to stay open because the government, because of socialism, is giving all the, they're basically killing off jobs because they're letting in so many fucking illegal immigrants that are able to work at much cheaper pricing. They can't stay in fucking business anymore. Yeah. And thank you, Tornado.
And the quicker we develop sovereignty for ourselves, both in our workplaces, both in our universities, the quicker we organize for ourselves, the easier it will be for all of us to preserve said national sovereignty and to hopefully make it as costly as possible for America.
No, the way to preserve national sovereignty in Canada is to start kicking out the massive amounts of illegal immigration. And the massive amounts of migrants that come in and take over the country. That's how you facilitate national sovereignty in Canada. You actually reclaim Canadian culture and stop allowing it to turn into Muslim culture or Indian culture, because that's what's happening in Canada. What's happening in Canada is it's not becoming like Canada, just like the US, is basically a Christian nation. Now, you guys know me. I give a flying fuck about religion. I'm not a religious person myself. I don't care about religion. But the fact is, Canada's sovereignty will come about when you stop letting in, when you, A, shut the fucking borders down, stop letting in so many fucking immigrants, like Trudeau did. Trudeau opened the fucking doors on this one. Carney kind of closed the doors a little bit. They did shut down immigration to a degree, but you need to lock down the immigration, and you need to start kicking people the fuck out. You flat out need to start kicking people the fuck out that don't belong in Canada. It's literally as simple as that. That's how Canada's going to reclaim its sovereignty. You actually kick out the people that need to get kicked out, and you actually put people into positions of power that will actually give a shit about Canada, that will not be so worried about mean words or giving migrants shit for free. Or actually saying, this is Canada, we're Canadians, we're going to do shit for Canada. Actually start caring about your country versus caring about making all of the immigrants happy. That's where you start.
America to continue dominating the world and engineering whatever kind of design they have. I saw a piece of this in action when I went to Minneapolis.
Okay, side tangent. Fashizi, hi, I didn't see you come in. Fashizi, okay, this is side tangent. Completely off topic. Fashizi, we watched your music video. It was fucking amazing. Your music video was amazing. We loved it. The music was banging. The animation was incredible. Wonderful job. Absolutely wonderful job, Fashizi. It was incredible.
Because American domination has often put its crosshairs on developing nations, as I've talked about before, Iraq, Afghanistan, as recently as we saw in Venezuela, where the American government kidnapped the leader of Venezuela and his wife and is facilitating a mock trial, a sham trial at this.
Oh, yeah, it's only a mock trial because it's a communist that's on trial. That's why he's calling it a mock trial. Because America yoinked a communist dictator who stole American property, which Hasan is very conveniently forgetting. Maduro stole American property. The Exxon oil refineries. It was an arrest. The FBI was there for it. But he's very conveniently forgetting that. He's very conveniently forgetting that it was that he had a warrant. There was a legal warrant. The FBI facilitated that warrant with the assistance of Delta. And he will be going on trial for stealing American property. Not to mention, the people of Venezuela were thrilled about the fact that Maduro got yoinked. They were thrilled about it because Maduro has been fucking over the masses of his country for years. Yes, Chavez did it first. Maduro facilitated it further. And there was a legit warrant out of a U.S. court for his arrest. The FBI went in with Delta and facilitated the arrest. And he stole the election. Yeah. He is a literal dictator, but Hasan, of course, is glazing a communist dictator. Of course he is. Do we expect anything less? And he's spewing this toxic vitriol to people in Canada. That's why I did not want him to come to Canada. This is why I was adding the university saying, why the fuck are you allowing a communist sympathizer, a terrorist platformer to speak at your university? It's fucking disgusting. It should never have been allowed. And hi, cronies, hi, raiders, welcome in. You're catching us at the end of Hasan's fucking shit-filled speech at British Columbia University.
Moment. You don't have to love the Venezuelan. You don't have to love the Venezuelan government. You don't have to be a communist or a socialist to recognize what that says for the international.
You guys remember once upon a time, about 40 years ago, when communist was a bad word? Yes, he's at UB. Yes, he was making the speech at UBC. You guys remember 40 years ago, communist was a bad thing. People, you're communist, and like fucking MacArthur. Wait, was it MacArthur? Am I thinking correctly? Was it MacArthur that was basically rounding up communists? Okay, no, not MacArthur. God, why am I saying MacArthur? Jesus, I am screwing up my names. I'm so sorry. Was it MacArthur? Okay, McCarthy. That's what I'm screwing up. Yeah, I'm saying McCarthy. That's why I was messing up. It's McCarthy, not McCarthy. God, I fucked that one up. Sorry. Yeah, Yeah, this is what. Yeah, remember when McCarthy? Yeah, is the and he screwed me up. I fucked that up. Sorry about that. Yeah, McCarthy was rounding up communists. Like communism used to be a bad thing, and now you have an American citizen in a foreign nation touting communism. An American citizen in a foreign nation touting communism. Fucker should be arrested. Fucker should be arrested for promoting communism. Communism leads to dictatorships. Communism leads to the deaths of millions of peoples. That's what communist dictators do. And he's promoting it in Canada. That's why I did not want him in this country. He should not be in this country. He should have been rejected at the fucking border. But, you know, the Canadian government's too pussified to say, no, Hasan, you are not allowed to come into this country to promote communism. Because the Canadian government's too pussified to do it.
Order, which was something that many European and even Canadian partners did not recognize initially as they celebrated this action, only to receive the exact same type of lack of autonomy when Donald Trump put his crosshairs on Greenland. It shouldn't take for Trump to go after a white partner country in Europe, a NATO partner country in Europe.
Why do you care about race, Hasan? What does race have to do with anything? Why did he have to say a white partner? What does that have to do with literally fucking anything about Greenland? Spoiler alert, nothing. The fact that Greenland's populace is predominantly white has nothing to do with anything about this. But he has to throw in a race card. Of course, he had to throw in a fucking race card because that's all he can do. All he can do, like him and all of the SJRs have to throw in a race card to make it seem like they're legitimate. It's the only way they know how to make themselves seem legitimate. Because if they didn't have the race card to throw, then everybody would know they're talking bullshit. Granted, their trained SEALs wouldn't know the difference, would still clap regardless. But that's the telltale sign of someone that doesn't actually know what they're talking about. Someone that's actually spewing bullshit, and they know they're spewing bullshit, is they throw in the race card. For people to wisen up to our grand design. And when I say our, I'm talking about the American government. Grand design. So that's a subtle way of him trying to say that the American government is Nazi. By talking about the grand design like that, he is subtly trying to equate that to basically like Hitler's grand design with the master race. That's what he's trying to do. He is literally trying to make America seem like it is Nazi Germany. Like, dude, why is he still in America? Why is he still in America? If he hates America so much, why are you there, Hasan? Oh, is it maybe because the fact that you have freedom of speech in America, and because you have freedom of speech, you're able to enrich yourself like this? It's why you can live in $1 million mansion and make millions of dollars because of that freedom of speech that let you shit all over the country that allows you to do it? Could that be it? While calling the very country that you live in, not so subtly, Nazi Germany? Yeah, I think that might be a fucking grifting piece of shit.
But the international destabilization that we have caused came back into the home front, as imperialism often does.
America didn't cause the international destabilization. What's caused the international destabilization is the mass migration that has been afforded throughout the entire Western world in Europe. That is what has caused the destabilization, not what America's done. Okay, this is where he's conflating to try and obfuscate the fact that mass migration from the third world in the EU and in Britain is what is predominantly causing the mass destabilization and the mass strife occurring within those countries. But he doesn't want to address that because he is all for a Muslim takeover in these countries. He wants these countries to be taken over and to become Muslim-dominated countries. So he will willfully ignore that is what is causing massive levels of destabilization. Not to mention, he is pro-communist, so he wants China to take over the fucking world too. Because he thinks in some way it's going to enrich him as well. Again, we're seeing a common thread here. If it can enrich Hasan Piker, he is all for it. If it cannot enrich Hasan Piker, he wants nothing to do with it. That is the core of everything when it comes to him. If it can enrich him, he's pro. If it will not enrich him, he's anti. And that's it. It's literally all this, I'm waxing poetic on all of this stuff, but it literally is that basic. Does it enrich him? He's for it. Does it not enrich him? He's against it. End of story.
In the form of fascism. Just as fascism arose from the failures of liberalism only but 100 years ago, the new wave of fascism is no longer seen as a revolutionary movement, but instead a movement away from liberalism.
You don't know what fascism is. Hasan doesn't actually know what fascism is. Okay? Again, him and all the other retards out there use fascism to basically say, you don't agree with me. That is what they view fascism is. So he's talking out of his ass now. He has no clue what fascism is. Fascism has resulted in the deaths of millions. Last I checked, the government you're calling a fascist government in the US has not slaughtered millions of people in the name of fascism. You're LARPing. You don't know what you're talking about. You're only saying buzzwords because you know it gets a positive response towards you. That's it. You don't actually know what it means.
The American Republican Party is now transitioning away from a liberal conservative party to a fascist party. And as fascists often do, they are invested in domination and cruelty for cruelty's sake.
No, they're not. No. Just because you love all of the illegal immigrants coming in and enriching you with government money that they get from places like California and New York and Illinois, they get free money from them and they spend it on you in your chat, doesn't mean that that's a good thing. The current American thought process, and this is predominant, by the way, he's conveniently ignoring that predominantly the majority of people in America, legal citizens of America, want illegal immigrants out. He is very conveniently ignoring that. Legal migrants want the illegal immigrants out. Okay? Even the people that migrated to the country legally hate illegal immigrants and want them deported. But he's going to ignore that because to him, they don't matter. And so he's going to throw out the buzzword. He's going to throw out the fascist buzzword because it's all he's got. Because it's basically the trigger word to make the trained seals clap. Fascism is the seal. It is the fish for the trained seals. You say fascist, they clap, he gives them a fish. That's it. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He is grotesquely uneducated in this matter. Grotesquely. He pretends like he's educated. He pretends like, oh, I have a degree in poli-sci. He is actually extremely uneducated in the current political climate, and he's grotesquely uneducated in the current popular thought process of the people of the United States. the majority of the people of the United States are pro getting illegal immigrants out of the country. There was a poll on CNN, one of the most liberal fucking channels on the of news networks. They do everything possible to try and to twist and spin something to be anti-Trump. Even they had to admit that the vast majority of people want illegal immigrants out, but he's going to ignore that because he knows that the people he dog whistles to will throw him money hand over fist and enrich him.
The reason why I brought up Minneapolis, Minnesota, and my experiences there is because as of today, Tom Homan has decided that they are retreating the ICE occupation that unfolded in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And the only...
Nope. They didn't retreat. They came in, they did their job, they concluded their operation, they are leaving. And I knew this is exactly how these people were going to take it. They came in and did the job that they were going to do. They concluded their operation. And thus, the operation's concluded, they're leaving. But people like this are going to see it as a win. They're going to see it as, oh, they're retreating. We won. So what's going to happen? Because this didn't get locked down, when everything went tits up in Minnesota, you know what's going to happen? When they try to conduct operations to get illegal criminals out of the country, you're going to see other states start doing the same thing Minnesota does. This is why I had a problem with why Trump did not, when shit went really bad in Minnesota, why I thought Trump was weak by not engaging the Insurrection Act. Because now you're going to have people like Hasan saying, we won. We forced them to retreat when they concluded their operations. And what's going to do is going to galvanize all of these retards throughout the country that now they're going to start doing it in other states. And we're going to see what happened in Minnesota happening in these other states that are more inclined to do it, where the police do not help out ICE. Because their viewing is, we won. Because we turned the fucking state upside down, caused hundreds of millions of dollars in damage. They're not talking about that, are they? It wasn't ICE that caused hundreds of millions of dollars of damage throughout the state. No, that was the rioters. That was the insurrectionists that have caused all that damage. Who's going to pay for that? Who do you think is going to pay for that once ICE, now that ICE is concluded and exit and basically predominantly remove the bulk of their personnel out of the state to continue on with their mission to do other things and leave, and the state is left behind completely trashed? Who do you think's going to pay for that? How many businesses, how many people's homes, how many people's vehicles, how much medical coverage that had to be done because these insurrectionists destroy property, attacked people and caused them injury. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars in damages in some way or another. Who's going to pay for that? Who do you think is going to pay for that? It's not going to be the federal government. It's going to be the state, if they even pay for it. Or if the state doesn't pay for it, it's going to come out of the pockets of these business owners. It's going to come out of the pockets of these people that were injured by these riotous mobs that mistakenly thought that the innocent people were ICE agents and attacked them. My opinion, everybody who incurred damage or injury because of the riots and the insurrection, every single one of them should sue the state. Every business that had their facilities damaged by these rioters, like breaking in their windows and shit, all these people that got attacked by ICE and had to go to the hospital, all these people who had their vehicles destroyed because they thought that they were ICE, every single one of them should sue the state and should sue Tim Walz. Every single one of them needs to sue him because he stoked the fires. Tim Walz, Frey, everybody that stoked the fires of this insurrection should be sued for everything they've got, because they didn't turn down the temperature like they were saying that the federal government needs to do. No, they fanned the flames. They fucking dumped gasoline on this fire, and they exploded it into an inferno. They wanted this to happen. They should get sued for it. They should receive lawsuits for this, for what they caused. Is that going to happen? No, probably not. And all it's going to do is it's going to embolden this kind of insurrectionism in other states. Predominantly blue states, because those are the states where the cops don't support federal law enforcement. And it's going to happen again. And it's going to get even worse. Because this did not get locked down when it should have, it's going to happen again, and it's going to be worse.
Only reason. Yes.
And the train seals clap.
And the only reason that happened was because the people got together, they organized, and they protected their neighbors. And while there was tremendous cruelty, kidnappings taking place.
No, they didn't, because all of those efforts by these rioters didn't stop ICE. The ICE still carried on with their mission. They still did the job that they were assigned to do by the federal government. They did, arrests are not kidnapping, no matter how much you try and twist and spin it. It's an arrest. It's not a kidnapping, because, but they use that language to try and inflame people. They went in, they did their job in spite of an insurrection taking place. Their job is concluded. They did their job. What are they going to do? They're going to have like thousands of ICE agents just hanging around in fucking Minnesota when they've got the entire rest of the country that they need to enforce immigration law on? No, they did their job. They're done. They're going on to the next thing. It's literally simple as that. But again, you hear him. He says the thing, the train, he offers the fish, the train seals clap.
On a daily basis, and community defense and people that got shot and killed like Renee Good and Alex Peretti, rest in power.
Fuck you, dude. Fuck you. Renee Good struck an ICE officer. She was told she's under arrest. She attempted to flee. She struck an ICE officer. She unfortunately lost her life because of it. Very sad, but accountability for actions. For Alex Peretti, that was a shit show. The Alex Peretti shooting was an absolute shit show. I haven't heard a result. I haven't made a conclusion of the investigation on that one. So I'm not going to speak one way or another, but I will freely admit that the shooting with Alex Peretti, that entire situation was an absolute shit show. It wasn't done well. We did the breakdown with Rich. It was an absolute shit show. Mistakes were, I think that mistakes may have been made on multiple sides, including Alex Peretti and including Border Patrol. We'll see what the investigation comes to play. But in the end, I think, I think it is going to be classified as a lawful but awful shoot. Unfortunately, not unfortunately. Sorry, the unfortunate part is a man lost his life. Let me clarify that. The unfortunate part is the lawful but awful. The unfortunate part is that someone did lose their life. I am never happy that someone lost their life in this situation. That's what it is. And yes, in both situations, if they had complied, if Renee Good had simply complied, she could have fought it in court, but no, she, at the behest, at the encouragement of her wife, decided to hit the gas to try and run from law enforcement. Then when they told her you're being detained, struck an officer, and it resulted in the end of her life. Alex Peretti decided to basically fight with CBP when they told him he was under arrest. God only knows what happened in terms of the shot going off that resulted in CBP opening fire. Again, investigation still pending. That whole thing was a shit show, but I do think that in the end it will probably be classified as lawful but awful. Yeah. But of course, he's conflated to their victims of a fascist power because that's all he can do.
The people did not stand down under minus 35 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know if you guys use Fahrenheit here. Minus 35 degree Fahrenheit weather. It was very cold.
Can I just point out He agreed to a speaking engagement in Canada and doesn't know a fucking thing about Canada. That, what he just said right there, along with not knowing how to and not caring about pronouncing the head of the Conservative Political Party of Canada, Peter Poilievre, she doesn't care. That's right there, shows. He doesn't fucking care. He made a paycheck. He can spew his rhetoric, get more people in his stream to give him money. He doesn't fucking care. It is absolutely basic that Canada uses Celsius, but he could not even be asked to figure out that Canada uses Celsius for temperature measurement. That is how little he actually gives a fuck about Canada. No, 32 degrees Fahrenheit is 0 degrees Celsius. Minus 32 degrees Fahrenheit is, there you go, 37, minus 37 Celsius. But he couldn't even, he cared so little about the country he was coming to pontificate to, he couldn't be asked to figure out what they measure temperature in. Again, he doesn't fucking care. He's grifting. He did this because he got paid to do it. That's it. That right there showed how little he gives a fuck about Canada.
50, 60,000 people got together and did a day of direct action, somewhat of a general strike. They call it a general strike. It's not the same as the traditional general strike, but there was a day of action. Small businesses from the community also participated in this blackout. And in the aftermath of all of this participation in community defense, ICE was forced to back away. This is the most
they completed
peaceful
their
option.
mission.
JFK has said, those who make peaceful revolution impossible make violent retribution.
Yeah. Small businesses closed and they actually had to put up signs, fake signs in their windows saying, we support the anti-ICE crowd, just so the anti-ICE insurrectionists wouldn't destroy their business. That's what these people did. These people were destroying small businesses because they thought maybe they might support ICE. So businesses had to put up signs pretending like they didn't support ICE just to keep the terrorists from destroying their business. That's the side Hasan is on. He's on this. No surprise, he's on the side of terrorists. He is 100% on the side of terrorism. And these fucking dumbass retards in BC are still clapping and eating it up. Every single person in this theater who's clapping is a fucking retard. Every fucking one of them.
Retribution inevitable. And I fear
Hasan panders to those who cannot be bothered to think for themselves. He is the profiteer of idiocy.
Yes, that's what I said earlier. That's exactly what I said earlier.
that violent retribution as the last option, which is why I'm here to talk today to you guys about what it means that the international order is falling apart. The old world is dying. A new world struggles to be born from its ashes.
Muslim invasion.
Is the time for monsters. Gramsci said that. I hope I didn't destroy that quote. I was trying to paraphrase it. And on that note, I think I'm ready to go. I did 15 minutes. I don't even know how I did that. But yeah.
So yeah, that's where it is. Hasan basically went to Canada to promote terrorism. That's what Hasan did. Hasan went to Canada to basically promote terrorism. And people in BC and these dumbass retards at the BC college were just eating it up. Look up the quotes. Yeah, exactly. Again, he could not be asked to do even the most basic shit to prepare. Because he doesn't fucking care. He doesn't give a shit. So long as it enriches him. That's all he cares about. He did this because he got paid to do it. And he did it because maybe he can get more people in the stream to give him money. He doesn't give a fuck about anything else. Not a thing. Because that's what he is. He is an actual grifter.